Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpwood Queen, and I'm reporting live from my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law. And I have with us the star of our fan club. Shah Rukh Khan is in the back, and he's wearing one of my red cowboy hats because we're going to be discussing the film, the very first film I think I watched of his nearly 2 years ago, called Om Shanti Om. And in the film, there's this wonderful Western scene. It's kind of like a spaghetti Western where he's trying to impress this Bollywood star. And he gets all his friends to recreate this scene. And I laughed so hard because I grew up on Westerns, because I come from Kansas. And also because there's a scene where he fights a tiger. And you will not believe it. I have the exact same tiger that he used in that film. And I've had this tiger for since I started the Pulpwood Queen. So I'm pretty sure I've had it for going on nearly 22 years. It goes to all my conventions with my lion and my cheetah. And when I saw him swinging that tiger by the tail in the film, I was on the floor. But I'm going to begin with also introducing who we have with us today. I'm really excited. I have a Pulpwood Queen book club member who has, we've known each other for a long time, but we just met not too many years ago. But she runs the podcast, Bollywood&Books. And it's fantastic. She just did an interview with the filmmaker, the dancer. His father was a filmmaker.
Oh, Vishesh Assad from New Delhi.
It's fantastic. I just shared it. And we have a new book club member who originally was born in Bulgaria. We have Antonina, and Duradanova.
It's perfect. Yes.
Oh my God, I can't believe it, because I'm really trying to learn other languages and other,
It's a difficult name. Yes, you said it.
Beautiful name. I wouldn't change it. Kathy Murphy is the most boring name in the world. I've always seen myself as a junior artist, and I've always had big dreams of being a star. But I'm living vicariously through the many, many films of Shah Rukh Khan, who is the biggest film star in the world. I will give a little backstory. What happened was we had our 2020 International Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys Book Club convention live in 2020. And when it ended, I got really sick and I barely made it home. I came in the house and I was in bed for a month. I'm not kidding. And I finally got well enough to go to the doctor and found out I had full-blown diabetes. My eyes were shot. Evidently, when you get diabetes, glucose crystals build up on your cornea and you can't see. I couldn't drive at night. I couldn't see. I was having a hard time reading. So I could listen to films, sometimes a little blurry, but when I got on the streaming services, because I watch a movie usually every night before I go to bed. Every night I watch at least one. I'd seen everything. I had seen everything I wanted to see. And I watch a wide variety of things. But it came to my mind that years ago, my daughters and I were looking for a movie. And I said, has anybody ever seen a Bollywood movie? And no. And so we decided we'd watch this Bollywood film called Bride and Prejudice. And it was a takeoff on Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. And I just fell in love with it. I mean, it's musical theater, the color, the costumes, the locale, the exotic, everything that is me, because my life is very colorful and very outrageous, was in this film. So I thought, well, let's see what comes up. And I think it was Om Shanti Om. So that's why I picked it for the first film. Now there's a zillion fan clubs for Shah Rukh Khan, but I don't think there's any that's going to do what we're going to do. We're going to be bringing in actual people that were born in India, that are authors, that are podcasters, that are, have a story. Maybe they're a Shah Rukh Khan fan. I just met a young woman who is a journalist, and she contacted me after I was speaking at a convention, and And she said, oh my gosh, I'm the biggest Shah Rukh Khan fan. And I was raised, I spent 15 years of my life in Hong Kong. And I go, oh my gosh, I really do believe this actor is going to bring world peace. I mean, this guy is just everywhere. But people here in the United States don't know about him. Everybody go, do you know who Shah Rukh Khan is? And they go, who? I said, well, let me tell you. And I've been watching his movies now for 2 years. And I thought, I'm kind of old to be running a fan club, but I thought, I'm 65. And if it isn't fun, I'm not going to do it. And he is absolutely the funnest person to watch in the whole wide world. He's an entertainer. He sings, but he sings with playback singers, which for those that do not know what that is they have professional India singers and they lip sync. I saw him in an interview and he goes, I'm the Milli Vanilli of, the Indian, but he's so good at it. It took me 5 movies before I realized it wasn't him singing. And I thought, how can he dance like that and sing like that and remember all those lines? And so I dove down the rabbit hole and I learned all about it. So I picked this film to watch, and I think you got to see it, Antonina, and Lovely. Have you seen it, Om Shanti Om?
No, Om Shanti Om I saw yesterday.
Yes. So it's fresh in your mind, and you did love it.
Oh, I did love it. To share with you as it started, I just thought that it's going to be one of those how can I put it? Movies without any content, and it seemed like there was nothing going on. And there were scenes, maybe I will share what my opinion is, because it all my travel, it looked like some kind of a circus show, okay? Because nothing looked really like it was connected with the film industry. I think it was very colorful, but I thought nothing of it. And my husband even walked away until it started to pick up speed. And alongside with the music, of course, which I stayed glued to it through the whole time. So the music and the dancing, and just like you said, how do these people sing and dance and remember what to sing and move at the same time? It's just incredible. But then there was a plot that was developing, and the scenes became more complicated, more complex, more vibrant. The movie started to pick up a plot which really attracts your attention, because you understand that there is some kind of a hidden meaning behind the dancing and the music, that was incredible. It just the whole plot was captivating. It just unbelievable that the man reincarnated and she comes in the end to really serve justice. That was totally, very agreeable. It was nice to see this in the end. But, there was something about the fire. And I had to research it. My husband's brain is like a computer. Something, he just holds everything. And he looked at me and said, this fire, there is something in Indian culture that's connected with fire. And it's about, it stopped in 1300 something, 1800 some year. Well, when the English, took over India, then they stopped it by law. But what happened was, at first it was voluntary, but later it became mandatory. It was forced. When a man died, his wife was burned on his pyre, and just, she died with him. Thinking that they will go into heaven and have a blissful life in heaven together. But it was very dramatic for young women to really be burned like that. And that stopped. But that was something that my husband came up with. He said, there was that fire that really had maybe this cultural, notation that was in Indian culture centuries ago. And, it just, they kind of brought this particular part of the culture in the movie. I don't know. I love analyzing movies. You know, coming from Europe, every time we went to the movies, we will discuss them. And I like movies which predispose you to discussing what happened and everybody perceiving scenes and everything a little bit different and bringing all of your thoughts together. So thank you.
Why I started this, because I wanted to know people's opinions, and those are great. I don't know the story about that fire, but I do know that the little bit that in the 2 years that I've just delved into this, you know, learning the history and the people and the cultures, is that water, the elements, fire, they're a big part of you. There's scenes in Bollywood films where they're always getting wet. They get caught in the rain, and where we just freak out when we get caught in the rain. It's like I heard Shah Rukh Khan one time say, it's basically what we do because we don't show any, you know, love making or sex in our movies. So we have these water scenes where they're, you know, caught in the rain and they embrace and dance. And so, but I will look into that because I did not know that. Now they do, when somebody dies, they do burn the bodies. And I mean, I was really watching this during COVID because it got so bad, you know, they didn't even have a place they were stacking up. It's just horrific, all the things that have happened. But at the same time, this film was done in 2004, but it was set during the 1970s, which was just when I was going out of junior high and starting high school. And if I had seen this film when this, you know, 1970, I would have saved all my money and packed up and gone to India. I would have thrown myself into a Bollywood movie because everything about them, the storytelling, the cinematography, the costumes, the color, but there's the difference between American film. American films last about an hour and some minutes. Bollywood films last 3, and they usually have an intermission. And I've noticed that they always have, you know, the beginning of the film, you can't judge a film by one part because they're like almost mini films in one sitting, because you start out and it's ludicrous. I mean, it's fantasy and it's over the top acting. The scene with Shah Rukh Khan and the woman who played his mother in their little place, and the dad was a junior artist and the mother was a junior artist, and he said, I want to be a star and I'm going to see my girlfriend, and he runs out very dramatically out the door, and you see him talking to what you think is going to be his girlfriend when you realize it's this gigantic Bollywood billboard of Dreamy Girl, which has this actress who is a Bollywood superstar, and he's in love with her. And he dreams of becoming a hero, which is, film stars in India are more than just film stars. They are worshiped and they call them heroes. And when you get to that status, you know, like Shah Rukh Khan, who has billions of followers all over the world because they film in so many different countries, that fascinates me, because here in the United States, we, you know, worship, you know, musical artists, sports figures, but not to the level of this. And the reason why is I couldn't figure it out. It's the only entertainment they have in the world. They don't have any other outside, you know, resources. Like you go to any major city and you're going to have, you know, opera and ballet and theater and you know, movies and sports events. But there, other than cricket, you know, they are totally, I mean, everybody goes to the movies. In fact, he did a movie, which was, I watched later down the line, and I never can pronounce the whole thing. It's DDLJ, the story about him and Kajol, who meet on a train as they're kind of doing this trip before her father wants to get, this young girl wants to get married, and she meets Shah Rukh Khan and they fall in love. And it was filmed mostly in Switzerland, which was interesting to me because almost all the films that they do in Bollywood, they go to different countries and they just have what, all of a sudden you're in the middle of a film and they have a dream sequence, which is total fantasy where, and you'll think it's real. You're watching this girl run across the desert and her scarf's and then he swoops her down. And then the next thing you see it and they're standing on a trolley or, you know, and it's just been something they made up in their mind. And I like that because in my own mind, I'm always wanting to break off into dance and run across with a scarf and have somebody dip me in a swooning embrace. But they're very romantic. But the reason why a lot of people probably don't understand the films is because they're not created for adults. They're created for families. They're created so the whole family can go to the movies, from the small children to the adult. Now, the newer stuff that's coming out, the contemporary stuff, a lot of the films from South India are really touching on social issues. Those are a lot different. In fact, White Tiger, which was a film done in India, was nominated, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, for the Academy Awards as best foreign film. Very powerful film. But they create these things and the over-the-top acting is just hilarious to me. So I see this film and he's such a romantic dreamer and an actor and all this stuff. And I think, wow, this guy. And then I think the next film I may have watched was Devdas. Have you guys seen Devdas? Which is probably the most beautiful cinematography I've ever seen in a movie. That glass house with all the stained glass and those amethysts and pinks, and I go, I don't know where that house is, but I want to see that house. Is that a real place? Do you know, Lovelace? You know that house?
My brain is so focused on Om Shanti Om. I can't remember. I have seen Devdas. I've seen so many films.
Madhuri Dixit stars in that, and the other girl that ends, she's the most beautiful woman in, I think I've ever seen in the world, and I can't ever pronounce her name. I've got to learn Hindi so I can learn how to pronounce these names. But it was a beautiful film with the best dance of any Bollywood film too, because the costumes were so lush and almost like, I've been watching The Gilded Age on Hulu, where set in, you know, New York, and the costumes are so opulent. It's all that color and the way they film, and the storytelling to me is very layered. Like, you know, did your husband ever come back to watch the film?
Yes, he did. And this is so true, that the stories, everything somehow is very much down to earth. It's very natural. And the stories, you kind of relate to the people very easily. They're not pompous and very, very simple people that you can understand. You can understand what they're saying. You can understand their thinking. My husband, we have his daughter is married to an Indian, so we do have connection in the family, and the children, they have two little boys, and the boys they're starting to speak Indian, English, and Bulgarian at the same time, because they just spent like a couple of months in India. So yes, this is very close to us, to the family, and going to India for us. Yes, we did go to India with my husband. It was one of the cruises. And I'm going to, since we can't see on a Zoom, but I will send you a picture of me with one of the dresses I bought in India for an Indian evening affair that we had, that was supposed to be a dress up in Indian clothing. And that was very exciting. So I'm writing now a book about our travels, and maybe I can share with the other lady, since she's writing about India, the places that I saw and the places I went. I was actually privileged to see a part of a Bollywood movie when we were in Mumbai. That was a part of the sightseeing tours they took us straight to a Bollywood movie, and that was amazing.
I am so jealous. Oh my gosh. What one was it? What one was it?
If you want, I'm like you. If you want to remember names, these names are so they're not that easy to remember. But the setup was really amazing. It was something about there is always a love affair going on, and it was about a girl and a boy, and they were in London, and somehow they had to return to India, and there was some kind of a story in between the families and how they had to get married, and it was a very, very light, very, very present movie with a lot of singing and dancing. It was just, yes, very attractive. So I have to say,
any of the stars?
Yes.
Do you remember any of the stars that were in the film?
Oh, no. I wasn't really paying that much attention. I was so excited that whole trip. You can imagine all day being in Mumbai, going from all of the temples that they had and their churches, all of the famous places. We were going from one place to another all day, and then the night tour, and everything was so exciting that I couldn't remember names now, but the images, they'll always stay with me. Yes.
Did you go to a movie theater to watch a Bollywood film?
That was in a movie theater.
Oh, it was in a movie theater.
Yes, yeah.
I would like to go to a Bollywood movie and sit in a theater just to watch all the Indian people watch the film.
That's right. That's what we did. We were in a movie theater with Indian people watching a movie, and that was an experience, cultural experience I will never forget.
Because they're dancing and everything probably during the movie, and I just have to see it for myself. And
yes, the public, they were all seated and nobody was jumping and dancing. We were the ones who felt like dancing and jumping, because for us that's like incredible to watch. But with them being in this culture, they were just their faces, they were all smiling, but nobody was really causing any disturbance because of the joyful scenes that were displayed. But yes, it was just very, I would say, pleasant to be among these people watching their movies in their own movie theater. Yes.
I've got to do that. And the thing that I've seen on either live interviews or in the movies is the people of India are so happy no matter life circumstances.
They are.
I watched a whole series where Joanne Lumley did a 3-part series of going through India, and she goes, just everybody, she really stood out because she has blonde hair, like blonder than mine, and she's tall and a model and gorgeous. And, she was a former model in the 60s and then went on to do a lot of acting in films and television and with the BBC. But she said, if you smile, and she talked to people, everybody was her friend. I mean, she said, it doesn't matter where you go. And she even went into a tent made up out of ripped pieces of plastic tarps in the homeless section of the slums. And I don't know how many people were in that tent. They had covered the floor with old rugs, and they had a little bitty television, and she went in it. It was all men inside. And she went in,
that's
great. And watched that film. They were watching movies, and she had a young, well, I don't know how old the guy was, but he said he'd been homeless for 30 years. He looked young to me. But she said, they sit here all day, and he goes, this is the only joy we have in our lives. We have nothing. We're homeless. And he said, so we come in here and we drink our coffee and we watch movie after movie. And it was just hundreds of people in this old tent. I can't even imagine what it must have smelled like, or the heat from those rugs and that tarp in that hot sun. But she said they were just so polite and peaceful and made room for her to sit down and watch the film. And when she came out, she did the coolest thing. She was just her and a film crew. And they had holes in, it was just scraps of cardboard, but it was huge. It took up like a half a city block. She and her crew went out and they bought them all new tarps so they could have a shelter that wouldn't leak. And wow. It was powerful, but the people were happy. And I mean, they just go through the dumps and they salvage and they sell cardboard and just all kinds of different things. It's absolutely amazing too. But back to Om Shanti Om. Okay. So we've got all these different scenarios happening on, but it's basically about making a movie. It's a film set about making a movie on what was a film set. And so it's kind of like a movie within a movie. And that place where they did it was just amazing. I don't even know how they did all the special effects and the fire tech, pyrotechnics. I mean, when his arm was on fire and all this stuff, but it's a tragic story. I mean, it ends really, but I watched on YouTube a guy who was doing a review of the film, and he said, even though it's a tragic story, people watch it fondly because it's very nostalgic for them. They said they love to see this young man who, when he catches her beaded scarf onto his jacket and he's following her, you just feel
that was so cute.
It was so sweet, and it was so, and she turns and she looks at him and he's just like, he just falls, and he's got this atrocious suit on. But the girl who wrote the film worked with him. Her name is Farah Khan, and they're not related, but she worked on this film. She's a choreographer, and she wrote this film, and it's a 70s story. She also did Main Han Na, which was kind of a spy military, and he goes back to college as a student. That was a good movie. But he has a lot of the same people in the movies with him. He's like Tom Hanks. He takes his people with him in the shows. I mean, this girl's been in, a lot of his films. The guy who plays Makeesh Mike, the director in the film, handsome guy. He's been in a billion films. The woman who plays his mother, she was in Devdas. I love the fact that they have such broad acting skills. They can play a lot of different roles. And I got so into that movie, I lost all track of time. I get so caught up in the story. And you've seen it twice, Lovelace?
Yes.
I bet I've seen it 6 or 7 times.
Wow.
Yeah. And every time I watch it, I see something different. I pick up on things, that little subtlety things, dialogue that, I didn't catch. And I've watched so many of the Bollywood films now that I still use the English subtitles, but I can actually, half the time I'm not even looking because I know the story, but I pay attention to different parts when I rewatch it, like the cinematography or the film angle, or how in the world did they do that scene, where they have him flying in slow motion, and all that craziness and the costumes. I can't even imagine what it must cost to do a film like that. And then I read when he was first starting out, he would do 2 or 3 movies a month.
Wow.
A month. He only sleeps like 5 hours a night, and I just go, my God, the guy must run on coffee because he drinks a lot of it. But So, Lovelace, what was your favorite part of the film? What struck you as, boy, I've never seen this before? Or is there anything that stood out to you?
Well, I love the choreography, the dance numbers for one thing. That's wonderful. I do think that from the get-go, even though it's not a huge impact, you know, it's not like having an explosion to start a movie, but it's really clear to see this man's dreams. And that's something that seems to me to be a thread through a lot of films. It's what you mentioned about the spaghetti westerns. That was really funny, you know, just because.
Oh my God, I was just on the floor.
They borrow from so many different genres of Hollywood films, and it's a mix. And so many, I don't know if it was this film or another where they use a camera. They have a camera over the floor, so you're looking down on the dancers, like Busby Berkeley's kinds of shots. And I don't know if it's this, you know, I get confused because
they do it in a lot of the Bollywood films. I think they did it in Devdas, but the swirling brocaded beaded dresses, oh my God, I just think I would kill for that. I want to see your outfit. You have to bring it next time.
Well, I knew I was going to wear it tonight, but I know with the Zoom, you'll just see my upper part.
Well, I've got my Shah Rukh Khan sweatshirt of movies on. You know,
but I'm going to send you a photo of that, and I don't know how it can be worked out so you can see me alive. In life.
I will love it. I will love it.
I have to tell you something very funny. You know, when we took a trip in Goa, and was it in Goa? It was in one of those places with a tuk-tuk. You know what a tuk-tuk is?
Yeah. It's like a little pickup.
Right, and the guy took us all over the place. It was just amazing. You know, where we saw fly fishing and their public, what you call it, clothing, how they wash clothes, their dry cleaning place, but it's not dry cleaning. They just wash the clothes in, you know, in buckets, and then they put them out in the air and all of that. I mean, people actually take their clothing there. So we saw incredible places, and then he took us to a very expensive place where they take tourists to shop for clothing. And my husband looked at him and said, you know what, I want you to take my wife to a place where you take yours.
You know, that doesn't really interest me. It interests me more where people, the everyday clothes that people wear, I think are just beautiful.
Exactly. So that's where we went. We went. It was like an Indian department store for women, but the colors, I looked at the shop, the outside, and what I saw in the windows, it's beyond description. And the dress I bought there, I will tell you, it was only $40, but this dress, I'm not giving it up for 4,000 because it's a very attractive dress, the colors on it, the way it's made. And when I appeared on the boat in it, everybody was exclaiming because it was a really pretty dress, typical Indian dress. So I guess when you travel in India, you just need to go to places where they go, because otherwise they think that, and they're very polite. They will take you to tourist places thinking that you will be more comfortable there. But no, we want to see their life and their culture and experience it. So going to their places, that was really a big treat to be in there.
And the food, I want the street food, you know.
The food is
diabetic, so I'm a little concerned about some of the things they eat, because you always see them, you know, the sweets, they're always eating bowls of stuff. I'm just going, oh, I'm going to have such a time. But if
they're not really fat people. If you see them, they're all kind of in shape. They're in shape somehow, I don't know. But we went to a couple of the most, I guess, prestigious, expensive places to eat. And the buffet was typical Indian, but the food was, I can't even describe it. The flavors, the spices, so delicious. I just fell in love with their food because I had Indian food before, but somehow some of the spices they weren't that agreeable to me. But after going to these places, I guess I fell in love with Indian food. Now I'm looking for Indian restaurants. But yes, their food is also incredible, incredible.
Well, I have a wonderful cookbook, a Bollywood cookbook, and I use it all the time. And I love turmeric. I love it. Every night I make chai tea.
I use it all the time.
I put turmeric in it,
yeah.
and then you know how they always they make the hot milk with the turmeric, and they put the top on it, and they take it to their husband before they go to bed. They're little rituals that they do with I want one of those. I just think that is when you come home and somebody brings that out, and they have the incense, and then they have you take a bite. It's such a beautiful way to greet somebody,
Yeah.
gone. I just think culturally, there are things that are, but if you saw my house, I'm going to show you, I'm going to move my camera just a second. This is over here. I don't know if you can see that mannequin.
Oh, yes.
That is an outfit Anju Gitani sent me that she wore the dress. And then I got I've got all these saris that have been given to me by Anju and by my friend in Chicago. They just sent me tons of them, and I wear them for all occasions. I've worn them to girlfriend weekend. And then I don't know if you can see this, but this is my chandelier in my living room. It's a bird cage.
Wow.
And all my Indian necklaces I hung from it.
Wow.
And this is my favorite. I've got to show you. This is my favorite one. It's a man riding a little horse.
Oh.
I've had this for 40 years. 40 years.
Oh.
And then all the pillows on my couch. And then I'm now painting and doing things with all this, with the colors. And I just ordered, I know when I get the time, Lovelace, I'm going to paint you a painting. I ordered the holly powders because I'm going to figure out how to do a painting with the powders, where they have the celebration of the colors, and I want to see that. I want to see their Festival of Lights. And I want to go to the temples. It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Taj Mahal, you need to go to Taj Mahal. Actually, I painted it. This is one of my last paintings. And
really?
I can show you this. Let's see.
Oh,
I'll have to walk. I have to walk in the other room. But
this is going to be so much fun sharing all this stuff.
Taj Mahal is a place where it's a, hold on, let me see how I can do this now.
If you just turn it.
Yeah, you're right.
I just picked up my laptop and turned it to whatever I'm pointing at.
Okay.
And, yeah. Oh, you did that?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. Look at the reflection in the water. Oh, send me a photograph of that.
Oh, okay, I will.
How long were you there?
We were in Agra for 2 days, so we could see the sunset and the sunrise. And that's what you definitely have to do if you are there, because sunset and sunrise, the building has different colors. Sunrise, it can be all pinkish white with a little bit of gold, and at night it can be it can have this beautiful gold color, gold and red. So it looks like a completely different building, but it is a palace of love, because that's the way, that's how it was built. And their coffins are there. I couldn't, I think I have photos of their coffins, the man and the woman, and I wasn't supposed to, but the guy looked at me and said, well, You're not supposed to take photos, but okay, I'm going to look the other way. Like I said, Indians are just unbelievable. They're so nice. I looked at it and said, please, because I've come from so far. And this for me is such a love story, just an incredible love story. So
I watched these two guys travel from Germany by motorcycle down through Nepal, Pakistan, and India. And that when they went to the Taj Mahal, they got up before daylight to go, because they said on the average, even I think during this time of COVID, something like 150,000 people go through it a day.
There, we went with VIP passes, whatever. We just walked around. We didn't stay in line. Otherwise, it was incredible. The crowd was, but in the morning, that was in the evening. In the evening, it was packed, and we managed to get through with some special passes. But in the morning, we got up extra early. These people that you're describing, we went there before sunrise, so we could actually watch the sunrise and the reflection of the sun on Taj Mahal, and that was an incredible sight to see. It just it can send goosebumps down your skin.
I started crying when I walked through the India Gate and saw the Taj Mahal at dawn, because that's when I went to see it. And I started crying because of the emotion that I felt.
Oh, I know. I'll probably bawl like a baby, because I've been, for 2 years, I've been dreaming about going, and it's still not, very safe. So, but I will go. I will, if some way, I will manage to go. But I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Getting together, sharing our stories, and the more people that come in, the more stories that are going to be shared. And if you have anything you want to show, you might want to have her talk about it on Bollywood and Books. I'm telling you, there's the sharing of the stories is what makes the experience so wonderful to me. It's talking to people about things they're passionate about. I love to travel. I love to go. I can't even imagine how gorgeous their parts of Bulgaria are. I would love to see it. And you've been back, right? Have you been back?
I travel every summer. Every summer we go to Europe, and I go to Bulgaria, of course. But the other day when I had this talk show and I was a guest to it, the emphasis was on travel. And, coming from a communist country, I couldn't travel. So they asked me, what were your dreams as a child, when you were there? And I said, well, I dreamt of traveling the world. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to see all of these countries, all of the cultures, that you just read about. You didn't even have an access to read that much, because that was forbidden. So there was nothing about the outside world that you knew about, but later on you get access because of other people who were privileged and who could travel. So they would bring stuff, and we would see it through them. But that was something that was my greatest desire. And now that I've been in the States, and now that I'm retired, my dream come true. We've traveled. We've been to Asia so many times. I don't know, maybe 10 times. And we want to go back. In India, of course, is one of the places we need to go back to. So, with COVID, we also will wait a while. But Bulgaria, Europe, we go every summer, regardless.
You've got family there, right? You have still family?
I have family, but it's not that close. I have half a brother. We didn't really know each other until recently. After my father's death is when we started to communicate more. And I have cousins, but the old folks, they're all gone. They passed away. But it doesn't matter. It's a place where you grew up. And this last summer, I was there visiting with a niece and her mother. They took me to the place where I used to go with my grandmother as a child, and I stayed there, and the landscape, it was so beautiful in the hills because it's the countryside, and with the vineyards and the sunflowers fields. It was just very, very nice. So I go every year. I just need to. And
I
this
am
summer,
so jealous. I just want to go. I've been in this cabin way too long. And then Lovelace you've been to India. Did you go multiple times? Was that?
No, just once. That was this one time that we went, and we were in New Delhi and Mumbai and then Agra, and then going back to the ship, Cochin. We were in Cochin, Goa, Gandalore, something like that.
Bangalore?
Yeah, we were there too. So I want to go back because there are places that I really, want to see again and to see new places. But this travel to India and Africa, and what is amazing and is that people are so happy, in the poorest, like this lady that shared with you. You see people crawling out of carbon, whatever boxes, and they live there. You see their slippers, but they're happy, they're smiling, and whatever they're doing, they're about their life. So it's a very, I would say, welcoming thing to see that people don't need much to be happy. They don't. They don't complain. They don't ask for anything. They're happy with what they have. They just are.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Lovelace, you've been a couple times?
Several times, and spent
India.
Not traveling with a group to India, but traveling kind of, on the spur of the moment, but traveling for 3 months here and 4.5 months there, and really living in part of southern India in the state of Kerala. When you travel, it's there's so much that I understood that I get. I took a lot of photos, probably 20,000 photos.
I believe it. Yeah.
And was making notes, or in fact writing in my journal, and just kind of recording incidents that happened, because the experience is extraordinary, and it's life-changing. I vowed after the first trip I would never go back to India again, but India gets in your blood.
Oh, wow. I want to go live there. I really do. I would like to just there's several places I've been to that I would love to spend more time. New Orleans is one of them. I love New Orleans. Everything about it. A story is playing out every minute on the streets of that city. And I love Venice. Oh, you'll be walking along down these corridors and you come around the corner, and I heard this beautiful operatic. I thought it was a woman singing opera, and I come around the corner and it was a young man with a dog. And he's got a top hat, and he's out in this piazza, and he's just singing his heart out. And with a hat, he takes it off and lays it down, and people were giving him coins. And I was just like, I could have stayed there all day just listening to this guy sing. It's like that. And I think about, and in other countries, walking is cool. But in the United States, you don't walk much unless you're in a city like New York or something. I lived in California for a while. Nobody walks. If you walk, there's something wrong, And especially here in Texas, if they see you walking down the country road, you broke down or something. But I love just getting out and seeing the countryside and the villages. I'd like to see the villages. The city, Mumbai, of course, it's kind of like Florence. You want to go there, but I had a lot more fun when I got into the little villages of Italy and France and Greece. Oh, Greece. Have you been to Greece?
Oh, well, we drive to Greece. Sofia, Bulgaria is north of Greece. So when we are in Sofia, my husband has an apartment there. We drive down. It's 3-4 hours drive to the Greek border, and from there, a couple of times we drove all the way to Athens. We'll stop on the way and we'll stay somewhere by the water, and Have you been to the Meteora, the mountains, the monastery in Meteora?
Yes, I went to a monastery that was on a monolith.
Yeah.
I go, how are we going to get up there? And all these monks, and I mean, and we had to put on these skirts over our pants before we went in. And it was, I never realized that Greece had these curving mountainous roads. In fact, Stephanie Chance, who's my best friend, takes trips to Europe, and I go with her. And we go off the beaten path. And we went to the Mamma Mia church, and we just had some terrific. But one of the stories in her book is we were driving to the Mamma Mia church, and we were climbing, switchbacks in this Mercedes bus. And to me, it was only wide enough for one lane, but it was two lanes. So when a car would pass you, it would be like this close. I've never seen anything like it. We came around a curve after an hour of driving, and in the middle of the road, there were like these bowling ball things, and we stopped. And, you know, I remember Tony, who's Italian, is our, you know, kind of our translator. He says, Mamma Mia, what? And they get out, and there's a huge hole in the road, and these men had on these hard hats that look like black bowling balls. And there was no way we could get around the hole. And because there was only like about maybe this much room on the mountainside, and then it was sheer cliff down to the Mediterranean on this side. So what are we going to do? And I said, well, how far is it to the church? And they said, oh, it's, you know, just up, you can see it right there. So we walked. It was the best day of my life, but it was a lot further than we thought. I bet it was 5 miles.
Oh my goodness.
And we picked wildflowers on the way, because when we got to the church, it was 180 steps straight up with no guardrails. Yeah. We got to the top. 3 of the couples that were with us on the trip renewed their vows at this church. And we had a Bulgarian film crew filming it. And so I was on Bulgarian television. And afterwards, we tied ribbons in the olive trees, and I caught one of the bouquets. And everybody made me promise that if I ever got married again, I'd get married there. And I said, I don't know if I'd climb back up here again. And they said, well, you do like Meryl Streep did in the movie. You take a helicopter and they land and drop you. I go, oh, but I ran up. I put on a pink dress with a scarf, and I ran up this cliff to be like the movie, and Stephanie was taking pictures. I was insane because it was sheer drop off on each side, but I did it because I love that film, Mamma Mia. I love Meryl Streep. But Greece was one of we went island hopping, and that was, every island has a signature thing that they do. Like one island, they're in pistachios. Another island, the only way of getting around is on little black donkeys. Another island, that's where all the Greek designers have their shops set up. And when I say Greek designers, it's like you bought that dress in India for $40. Well, you could buy these designer clothes, beautiful. I bought this beautiful Grecian blue gown with a jacket, and it was, I think it was 80 euros. And you know, and then another island had gold jewelry. And so we were buying all this gold. I can't wait to go back. And Stephanie's getting ready to take 3 trips this year. They're going to Spain.
I am going to have to go.
Oh.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Antonina. I am.
Oh, nice seeing you. Yes.
I guess it is time, you guys. Well,
I apologize, but I need to leave. Thank you.
I'm going to tell you next week what I want everybody to do is on Netflix, there's a wonderful interview with David Letterman. That was, I think, the second thing I watched. It's on Netflix. It's an interview with David Letterman, and we'll discuss that next month. And then we'll do probably an interview. Then we'll do a movie, and we're going to do a lot of different things. But bring your things and show. And thank you for joining me. This is all recorded, and it's going to be up on our my Kathy L. Murphy channel. So thank you for coming, and I'll get with you, Lovelace, and we'll just do one down the road where we're talking about Bollywood and books. Okay.
Thanks, Kathy. Good to see everyone.
Thank you, Antonina. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going
It's
to have
good seeing you.
so much fun.
Okay. All right.
All
Nice
right.
seeing you.
Farmalinge.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye. Bye.
Bye.